Hello and welcome everyone, BWeeb Online, and today I will continue the series Naruto and the Lolly Kurama Part 2. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
It was quite rare for him to feel lonely. He disliked being depressed in front of others. If he only kept a smile on his face, they would return the smile, which would typically cheer him up. But this was unlike any other anguish he had ever known. As if the universe wanted him to be even more depressed, it had decided to cry at the funeral alongside him and the rest of Konoha. Some may have interpreted this as a sign that the guy they were mourning was so magnificent that his death had a global impact. Naruto was not a big fan of overthinking things like that. It was actually quite straightforward. He'd lost one of his most prized possessions. He had sat silently with his fellow mourners during the funeral. He had never before attended a funeral. He had to restrain himself from taking a glance around. It would be far more respectable if he stood like everyone else. But what he really wanted to do was fall on his knees and cry out to the heavens, hoping that Sarutobi would hear him. It was perplexing. He had never given the Pure Land much thought before, but now that he knew someone close to him had moved there, he found himself thinking about it more. He'd chosen to depart as soon as the burial was finished so he could return to his flat. It was funny that he had felt dreamlike throughout everything, especially throughout the combat against Shukaku. And now tiredness had decided to strike. He flung himself on the bed as soon as he walked into his house, wet morning clothes and all. Despite the discomfort, Naruto proved to be too lethargic to change. He only wanted to immerse himself in his tenant's chat for a few days. He didn't give a damn who he talked to at this time. It didn't bother him as long as it didn't bite him in the arse later. This was ideal for the nine-tailed fox. First, she wouldn't be able to inform anyone about his coming breakdown. And second, she was just a nice face to look at. Being a rather young lad, he was content with the modest pleasures of life. Ramen and gorgeous girls are two of my favorite things. The nine-tailed fox was an extremely attractive young lady. He would have been labeled insane or insane if he had informed anyone. It made him feel special that he was aware of something that no one else was aware of. He acted as though he was the keeper of all secrets. Are you going to say something or simply stand there like an idiot? The nine-tailed fox was also a very obnoxious young lady, which was the polar opposite of what he wanted to be doing right now. In response to her comments, he felt one of his eyeballs quiver. This was not his cup of tea. He couldn't speak because he felt like there was a suction in his chest that was preventing his lungs from working properly. Was it a result of rage or sadness? He had no idea. Hello, did your monkey brain short circuit? The girl inquired as she leaned closer and pretended to be concerned. His hands were clenched into fists. The girl raised an eyebrow at the simple action. Did something happen? Says the narrator. Naruto yearned for a good chuckle. She sounded as if she had poured some emotion into her comments. Yes, something happened, Naruto said, his voice soft enough to cause the girl's eyes to widen slightly in surprise. The nine-tailed fox took a deep breath and sat back in her chair. What was she going to do? She was a wise woman who understood that the next thing she did would determine the future of their relationship. She loved things the way they were now, with him at her beck and call and her occasionally wielding some control over him. It made her feel as if she was needed. Something she discovered was really fantastic, but she would never acknowledge it to him. If she messed up, Naruto would most likely cease coming to her for assistance, leaving her alone once more. Alone. Loneliness was an unpleasant pill to swallow, and she had no intention of taking any more. Candy had a much sweeter flavor for her. Not that Naruto's firm was anything to do with candy. After all, he was a nasty monkey. Do you want to short circuit now? Huh? You've been whispering for like a minute, Naruto said as he took a step forward. Something about drugs and candy. Just ignore all that and come here, the girl said dismissively. Oh, why should I? He said as he took another step forward. As the nine-tailed fox and your tenant, I will devote some of my precious time to hear you out, the girl replied before clicking her fingers and producing another throne for him to sit on. A throne this time, not a stool. Consider it a kindness I've rewarded you for demonstrating to Shukaku that the nine-tailed fox is not to be trifled with. Even if it was only my container that destroyed him, praised the girl, nodding in agreement. Right, he said, staring at the throne before returning his gaze to the girl. Yoko Ono insisted, waving with both palms open. Come on, sit, sit. Naruto nodded and sat down on the throne after gently strolling around it to the front. A delightful shudder passed through his body as he realized that his throne, like the girl's, was extremely comfy. The two thrones were practically identical, with the color being one of the few variances. His throne was dark blue with orange touches, while the girl's was black metal with ruby accents. But there was one thing he was particularly on the lookout for. It was whether his throne swiveled or not. He stomped his foot on the ground. His throne did, in fact, swivel. In his book of judgments, it was a +1 for the girl. Comfortable chair, ain't it? The girl remarked, a smug grin on her face. Naruto said with a nod. Now please tell me what's been dragging you down. The girl said quietly, her face softening as she talked, making her words seem a lot more compassionate than they probably were. For a few period, he stared at her. On the one hand, he had a possibility to have a pleasant chat that would make him feel better. And on the other hand, he had a chance that the girl would mock and shame him. I'm done with it. He'd be content with unloading his emotions to a real fox at this point. Naruto took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. One of my most treasured people passed away. Who was it? The girl asked, her eyes widening. It's my grandfather. Is he your father or your grandfather? No, Naruto said, shaking his head. My kind of adopted grandfather. Sort of, says the narrator. He used to come see me at the orphanage every now and again, and finally bought me an apartment, and he's given me everything I own. Naruto explained, leading the girl to nod in agreement. What kind of man was he? The girl wondered, her head cocked to the side. He was the Hokage, says the narrator. As she clicked her tongue, the girl's eyes widened. He had a lot of contacts, and she was definitely impressed. The Hokage, huh, that's impressive. You must have been one important monkey to have gotten his attention. Praised the girl backwards. So she took a brief breather. How did he pass away? They said Orochimaru was able to isolate him. Naruto replied, his bottom lip tensing awkwardly as he pronounced the word isolate. And during the battle, he used this crazy technique that let the other Hokages come back to life. And that's how he was able to kill him. She didn't bother to inquire about Orochimaru. He probably didn't want to go into detail about the assassin who killed one of his loved ones. He must have been a really strong monkey if it took all of that to finally take him down. The girl whistled. Yeah, he was. I remember someone told me he even had a contract with the monkeys. Naruto chuckled quietly. A monkey conjuring monkeys. Seems like monkeyception to me, the girl said almost thoughtfully. The child chuckled and then curled his lips upward into a little smile in response to her words. Have I made you feel better? You have, Naruto said with a nod. The girl leaned back in her throne, satisfied that her task was completed. Perhaps now was a good moment to ask for a couple head pats or even tummy rubs as a reward. She was feeling a little greedy, so she decided to include a foot massage. She grinned, a soft hum of delight coming from her lips as she considered all the ways she could entice him to reward her. No, that's not it. She was planning to give him a reward. Touching her was an honor for a monkey like him. She only let him touch her since she didn't have anyone else to massage her head, give her belly rubs, or comb her tails. Like she had any feelings for him. After a little pause, Naruto continued, you know, I kinda like this side of you. Him, how so? The girl inquired, her head tilted slightly and her gaze drawn to him from the corner of her eye. Naruto responded with a genuine smile, the corners of his eyes crinkling up as he said, you seem like you genuinely care about me. The girl's eyes widened significantly before she immediately covered her cheeks with both palms to hide her impending flush. That smile had the potential to change her mind about monkeys. She'd wager 2.5 of her tails that his grin would have had the same effect on the rest of the tailed animals. She'd never show it to them, though. Naruto's smile was intended solely for her, but she would never acknowledge it to him. Her pride would not allow her to do so. She'd have to dispel whatever notions he had about her caring for him, or he'd never allow her get away with it. I'm simply assisting with the recovery of your emotions so you don't go out there and do something dumb that'll kill the both of us, the girl said, her voice cracking slightly. Right? Naruto chuckled. No there's way I could ever care for you. You're a monkey, the girl said, her flush spreading from her cheeks to her ears and the sides of her forehead as she squeezed her eyes shut. Come on, admit to this poor monkey that you at least care a little about him, Naruto said, leaning forward. And no, why not? Naruto wondered, his head tilted to the side in wonder. My pride won't let me, the girl said quietly, her tails tightly wrapped around her. There was a brief pause in the conversation. When the girl turned to look at Naruto, she noticed that he was pouting and staring at her with wide eyes. Those eyes were insanely blue. The color was strikingly similar to her Matatabi's, the two-tailed beast's fur. Perhaps, maybe she could keep him occupied for a while, Fine. Alright then, monkey, the girl said, clearing her throat. I'll admit that deep down, I have a little part of me. A part so small that it makes a bug look enormous. That tiny, insignificant part of me cares only slightly about you. She hadn't intended to stutter in the first place. Really? Naruto asked with a smile. Really? She nodded, rolling her eyes. So, what should we do to pass the time now that I'll be in here for a while? Questioned Naruto, a tiny smile on his face, the discourse having lifted his spirits. I'd like you to touch my head and rub my belly. Why do you always request head pats and belly rubs? The girl rubbed her chin with her finger and cast a sidelong glance. I ask for them because I enjoy them. The girl hummed thoughtfully. Can you tell me why you like them? Because they make me happy. Eh, what? Naively inquired the girl, her ears folding downward as she tilted her head. Could you repeat that? Because they make me feel nice, the girl said, her eyes narrowing. Say it the same way you said it the first time, Naruto said with a nod, but with more energy. Are you expecting me to raise both hands, make peace signs, and stick out my tongue? You disgust me, said the girl, snarling. Hey, it was just a joke, Naruto chuckled. HMPH, how about that head pat, says the narrator. There's also belly rubs. Yeah, alright, Naruto said with a smile before tapping his lap and saying, Simir, alright, as she slid from her throne and jumped up onto Naruto's lap. The girl replied, Oof. Naruto muttered as her tailbone slammed into his stomach. Stay there, you're not as light as you believe. His remarks caused the girl to slowly tilt her head towards him, as if her neck were suddenly turning on gears as it turned shakily toward him. And she gazed menacingly at him from the corner of her eye. What did you say about me just now? Naruto, with his big dumb mouth, gulped calmly. Sorry, awkwardly apologized Naruto, offering the girl an embarrassed smile. Just begin patting my head, she said, turning her head back and letting out a sharp HMPH. Alright, Naruto said as he raised both hands and gently placed them on the girl's head, just behind her ears. Ew, did I make a mistake? Inquired Naruto as he softly rubbed his hands together. No, please continue, the girl replied as she bent her head back slightly, just enough to feel a little more pressure from Naruto's hands. All good, Naruto said as he patted her head, his eyes widening slightly as he noticed how the girl's ears twitched whenever his fingers approached them. It felt lovely. Her hair was smooth and soft, but it was difficult listening to all the small cute sounds she made. Naruto wondered if she was aware she was making them. If she did, Naruto had no idea what to think about it. If she didn't, he didn't know what to think of it either. Move one hand down to my belly and touch it. Oh, sure, belly rubs. He moved a hand down and softly rubbed her belly, his eyes narrowing as he realized his hand had never come this close to a girl's breasts before. He swallowed, and he swallowed loudly. There are no negative or vulgar ideas in my head. Clean mind, clean mind. He chanted the slogan over and again in his thoughts. The noises made by the girl didn't help him at all. PH, praise me, the girl said, causing Naruto's eyes to widen. What? Just do it, the girl said, her eyes closed and her lower lip bit. Ooh, are you a good girl? Naruto muttered clumsily, tipping his head to the side, attempting to capture the girl's reaction. Who am I? Yes, I think you're a good girl, Naruto said, quirking his brow. The girl grinned back, and Naruto realized she wasn't human after all. No human in their right mind would want to spend hours having their head stroked. They'd rather do anything else. The girl felt more like an intelligent pet than a human with fox features. Say, congratulations on murdering all those monkeys. What? Wow, you did a great job murdering all those monkeys, Naruto said, trying to be as sentimental as possible. Her tails, which had been laying flat on his lap and draped to the sides until he said anything, suddenly jumped up and wrapped around his waist, causing him to gasp and widen his eyes. They were so fluffy, so damn fluffy and wonderful. They looked like clouds, but they were red chakra clouds. She had a softness about her that was palpable, with the exception of her slaps, which were evident. Was this how Sakura and Ino felt when they were younger? Why, you've stopped complimenting me, the girl replied shyly, turning her head to gaze at him. Oh, sorry, Naruto said. You know, you're genuinely rather attractive. Yeah, the girl scoffed. That's something you say a lot, but I'm not looking for that kind of adulation. What's the harm in being labeled cute? Well, the girl began, her cheeks flushed. Cute is a word you use for young monkeys. Plus, I don't want to say, she says. Would you mind telling me? Inquired Naruto, leaning forward to allow her to see his smile. The girl whispered gently, damn fine stupid, before clearing her mouth. My cheeks feel strangely heated and I become all fuzzy, said the girl slowly, her hands subconsciously sliding to grasp onto Naruto's hand on her tummy, causing the boy's eyes to widen. I've never felt this way before. Have you never blushed? Blush? Is that the case? Yeah, Naruto said with a nod. Your monkey features must be rubbing off on me, mumbled the girl with a little pout. The weak are the only ones who blush. I don't believe so, Naruto countered. Blushing is simply normal. It's something that everyone does. Kakashi does it, too, but only while he's reading his porn. Naruto laughed as the female said, this Kakashi fellow sounds like a sleaze bag. He isn't all evil. Every monkey is a terrible monkey. He's that horrible, the girl stated emphatically. How about myself? Inquired Naruto, quirking an eyebrow and leaning his head to the side. Hey, you're not that horrible, are you? You're still a bad person. It's just a smidge on better than the others. That's good enough for me, Naruto said, his unexpected eagerness translating through his hands and into the head pats and tummy rubs he was giving the girl. Good for you, the girl answered, one eye flinching shut as Naruto's skillful head pats reached her. While continuing to touch her head, Naruto unintentionally grazed the girl's ear with his finger, causing a squeak from her. Monkey, ears are not to be messed with. Why, you remember what happened the last time, replied the girl, her tails ever so slightly tightening around Naruto's waist. Yeah, I do, Naruto said, a shiver going down his spine as he remembered how hard she had smacked him that day. So are they sensitive? He wondered. There was a brief pause in the conversation. And quite sensitive, the girl said, her ears dropping to the sides in defeat. Do they hurt when I touch them, for example? Like, is it comparable to how you should never touch a dog's tail? Naruto inquired, his voice filled with genuine concern. With a hot crimson on her cheeks, the girl shook her head, and Naruto's eyes widened substantially as he realized what she meant. It's kind of like that, huh? Naruto inquired, eliciting an embarrassed nod from the girl. Now you're aware, so don't be a fool and don't touch them unless I say so. Don't worry, I won't, Naruto said with a smile and a nod. We'll see about that, says the narrator. Naruto leaned forward during the pause so that he wouldn't have to strain as much to apply the exact amount of pressure that the girl desired in her head pats. In this position, he could just pick up the aroma of the girl's hair. He thought it was an ironic combination because it smelled like rain and was relaxing and quiet, which was the polar opposite of her personality. As he continued to massage the girl's head, her tails coiled tighter and tighter around him, making him quite uncomfortable. It's your tails. Your tails are suffocating me. Why? They have their own thoughts. Could you just advise them to relax? Naruto inquired as he gulped quietly. Fine, the girl sighed. 9. She said as she tilted her head to look at her tails. Allow the monkey to leave. You're suffocating him. They didn't respond at first. In fact, they tightened in response to her words, causing Naruto to groan in discomfort. It doesn't matter if you like the boy or not. Let go of him, the girl said, causing Naruto to raise an eyebrow. Finally, Naruto exhaled in relief as the tails finally surrendered and loosened up. Also, 9s. I got 9 tails, the girl blushed. What were your expectations? Naruto responded with a shrug. Are we going to do anything else, or do you want me to give you head pats and belly rubs for 3 days? I'm not sure, the girl shrugged. I guess all we have to do in here is chat. That's wonderful, Naruto answered. Having someone to talk to about things is nice. The girl had just enough time to think about the boy behind her, and she couldn't help but want to get closer to him. Perhaps she wasn't in the right mind at the time, what with Naruto's harmless warmth and the head pats and belly rubs. But she couldn't help but want to get closer to him. She despised herself for ever considering such a thing, but she found herself enamored with the concept. Why was this container so different from the others she'd used before? She despised her previous containers, which were snobby people with bad red hair. She tolerated Naruto for some reason, and she even liked him a little. She despised it. Despite this, she noticed that a few words were already building in the back of her mouth, and they were escaping her before she knew it. Say, Naruto, the girl stated abruptly, raising an eyebrow at his use of his name. You've lost one of your most prized possessions. Right, I did, he said with a nod. Well, that's what I was thinking. What are you thinking about? Perhaps, I reasoned. Maybe, perhaps I could be one of your priceless individuals. Really? Naruto said, his eyes widening. Idiot. Stop being so ecstatic. However, I can't help myself. I'm always eager to meet new people. Also, quit saying stupid things like that. What? Friends? Yeah, well, maybe I wouldn't say that if you didn't always blush and act cute when I said that kind of stuff. Idiot. You're a moron. I despise fool monkeys like you. He burst out laughing. Whatever, says the narrator. I'm a moron. HMPH. The previous few days had been extremely eventful. Jiraiya had first forced him to accompany him on a trip to find a replacement Hokage, and a healer to assist Kakashi, who had ended up in the hospital after a fight with Itachi and Kasame. When Naruto asked where they were supposed to find such people, Jiraiya told him that he knew someone who could do both, which piqued Naruto's interest even more. Second, Naruto had met Itachi and Kasama during their brief stay in a hotel during their journey. He'd never admitted to anyone, but he nearly peed his pants during that little altercation. It wasn't Itachi who scared him, but rather a much older and more stressed out Sasuke. Kasama was the most terrifying to him. The guy looked like someone had accidentally summoned both a human and a shark at the same time, resulting in them fusing together during the summoning process. On a side note, Naruto had learned the word chimera from Jiraiya shortly after that, so he had gained more than he had lost that day. Guy had also given him his own green jumpsuit. In all honesty, he found the thing very comfortable, but he loved orange too much to change his clothes. As a result, the jumpsuit would be left in his bag. Overall, his week was not too bad. However, Sasuke was severely injured. This only fueled Naruto's desire to travel with Jiraiya in search of whoever this extremely skilled healer was. Jiraiya had said something about her name being Tsunade or something. Tsunami, Tsunade, Tsunana. It began with a Tsu, but he'd forgotten the rest. If only he had known he had done it correctly the first time. He had decided to take a nap right after the ordeal with Itachi and Kasama. He wanted to tell the girl about how he had just defeated two S-ranked ninja and escaped. He received a severe reprimand. At least, the girl's version of reprimand, so she just kept calling him an idiot. The following was said during the conversation. Wow, today was insane. Idiot. Huh? You're an idiot, the girl said sternly. Her eyes narrowed as she sat on her throne, legs crossed. Why is that? Naruto wondered, taking a step forward, his head tilted slightly to the side in confusion. You're just an idiot, the girl replied, folding her arms. I just thought you needed to know that. Did I do something wrong? Said Naruto, quirking his brow. Of course you did something wrong, the girl exclaimed, slamming her fists on the armrests. What I saw from you today was stupid, borderline moronic. No, it was moronic. I've never seen such a moronic monkey as you before. You're a moronki. Is this all about Itachi and that blue-skinned guy? He wondered. HMPH, grunted the girl, her lips pursing together to form a thin line. Is it? He waited for her response with patience. It only took a few seconds for the girl to change her mind. Yes, it's about Uchiha and his shark-skinned companion. Were you worried about me? Naruto asked, his eyes widening. Instead of responding, the girl blushed and turned her head, letting out a sharp HMPH. You were worried about me? Naruto exclaimed, his lips curving upward into a smile. No, I'm not. I'm not concerned about you. You say that, but you're blushing, Naruto said as he walked over to his throne. I am not, the girl said defensively, scooting her legs back until her knees were pressed against her chest. Yeah, whatever, Naruto snorted before letting out a short chuckle. You're still stupid, the girl pouted softly, her tails gently curving in front of her so she could hide a little behind them. That, Naruto replied, his lips curving up into a warm smile. The girl started blushing furiously, her tails quivering as she looked at his terribly warm monkey smile. It took less than a second after he said those words for the girl to grab one of her tails and smush it against her face in an attempt to hide her blush. It simply made it more obvious. Her tail also gave the impression that she had a mustache. You know, when you do things like that, you really look cute. Shut up, you stupid monkey. Why, don't you like that warm, fuzzy feeling? Just shut up. It's a nice feeling, isn't it? Naruto asked, tilting his head to the side and smiling. I get it sometimes when I'm talking to you, so don't be embarrassed. His words only served to accentuate the girl's flush. I told Naruto to shut up. That was the course of the conversation. That was also the length of his nap, which was cut short when Jiraiya pushed him out of bed. The old man then made him take a quick shower before they went to the nearby market to get some food and supplies. Actually, that wasn't entirely correct. Naruto was supposed to get the food and supplies, but Jiraiya ran off with Naruto's money and spent it all on hookers. Hookers are expensive, the kind with standards that could only be purchased with all of the money Naruto had saved over 10 years of his life. That was the final straw. You could literally push him off a cliff. You might be distracted by attractive women. You could even force him to awaken, but stealing his money went too far. When Naruto saw the perverted old man, he rushed up to him and began slapping him. And Naruto, oh, stop. Damn it, brat, exclaimed Jiraiya as Naruto clobbered his face in. You bastard. You took all my hard-earned money. Stop. You're spilling the entire bottle of sake. Oh, take this, and that, and more of this and that and this, yelled Naruto, kneeing Jiraiya in the stomach. I'll pay it all back. Please forgive me. Didn't you say the 3 taboos of being a ninja were alcohol, women, and money? Look at yourself and what you're doing, roared Naruto, slapping Jiraiya across the face. Please forgive me, squealed the old man, his face scrunched up in pain as the slap connected. Naruto eventually gave in, but not before giving the old man another smack on the head. HMPH. You owe me money, and you owe us money, you damned urchin brat, yelled someone behind them. Huh? Exclaimed Naruto as he turned to face the newcomer. Persons. There are 2 people, 2 men in suits. They appeared to be members of a gang or other criminal organization. One was bald and dressed in a black suit, while the other was dressed in a white suit with a collar so high it looked like he was wearing a cone around his head. A large stain covered the front of the cone-wearing guy's suit. It was most likely from the sake he'd spilled. You ruined the leader's designer suit. You'll have to pay for it, exclaimed the man in the black suit, his voice disgustingly high-pitched for a grown man. Look, baldy, and broke, Naruto exclaimed, pointing to his hollowed-out, deflated wallet. It suits your boss right for wearing a white suit. How much does that suit cost anyway? It's ugly. It must be like what? $10, said Naruto, mocking the 2 men. $100,000, the cone-collared man stated flatly. Are you telling me that pigeon shit-covered suit costs $100,000? Yeah, even I'd have to agree with that, Jiraiya said, rubbing the red mark on his cheek with his hand. You must have been duped pretty hard if you spent $100,000 on that awful-looking suit. Are you asking for it? You better shut your mouths if you know what's good for you. The cone-collared man glared at them. The boss was once an Iwagakure Chunin. He was the legendary Dark Ninja, feared by all. Then why is he dressed in a white suit? SHH, Naruto. Let me handle this, Jiraiya said before clearing his throat and rising. Legendary? Huh, I doubt it. You seem to want to get hurt, the cone-collared dunce retorted through gritted teeth. Now is the perfect time for me to show you that technique I told you about earlier, Jiraiya said, looking down at Naruto. Yeah, but I don't see why I need it. I mean, I can pretty much KO anyone with a slap. Yes, but it looks a lot cooler this way. And you seriously look like a girl when you slap someone. The older man rolled his eyes. His words were met with a well-deserved elbow to the arm. Neither is it a light elbow. You 2 little shits. Stop ignoring us, yelled the bald man, spitting all over the ground in front of him before drawing a switchblade. Just give us the damn money, and I won't have to castrate the both of you. Castrate. Naruto trembled. Just watch carefully. Naruto, Jiraiya said as he extended his hand. With that said, chakra began to rapidly swirl around in the older man's hands. It didn't take long before a perfect sphere of chakra sat gently in his palm. Surprisingly, Naruto likened the pure blue color to the color of his own eyes. The appearance was deceiving, as if touching it would result in his hand being blown off. It was similar to the 9-tailed fox, cute, but mean and occasionally violent. Why you? Yelled the cone-collared man as he recklessly charged Jiraiya. Jiraiya easily dodged underneath the thug's punch before driving the Rasengan straight up into the man's stomach. Spiraling around on it like a top, the man flew straight through up into the ceiling, crying out in agony. The only part of him that was still visible was his 2 legs, which dangled harmlessly up from above. Legendary? Huh? Smirked Jiraiya as he looked at the bald man. In response, the man's mouth opened and closed. He appeared to be a fish, a bald fish that had been pulled from the water. The man rushed out the door, letting out a loud, squeaky scream, only to trip and lose consciousness when his face hit the ground. Well, Jiraiya began as he walked over to the 2 dangly legs and pulled an overstuffed wallet from his pocket. That's that then. Naruto shuddered as he looked up at the white-collared man. That had to be the most agonizing thing he'd ever seen. He hoped he'd never get on Jiraiya's bad side. Oh wait, didn't he just try to smack the goo out of the old man? Jiraiya, what exactly is it? Ooh, sorry about that earlier. It's fine, the old man chuckled. You still owe me all of the money you stole from me. Yeah, whatever. Here, take this. Jiraiya sighed, opening the wallet and placing half of the money in Naruto's hand. Jiraiya then walked over to a nearby stand and purchased a large quantity of balloons. Before explaining the 3 processes to the Rasengan to Naruto, the perverted old man compared a full water balloon to a woman's boob in Jiraiya fashion. That was essentially the start of Naruto's real training. He knew it would be a long, difficult, and epic journey. It might have only been one technique he needed to learn, but he was certain it would take forever. He had spent the entire night practicing and had made no progress. He eventually decided to call it a night, and that was the end of it. You're a complete moron, aren't you? Yeah, I can be sometimes, Naruto admitted with a sheepish smile. The girl gave him one more look before letting out a loud, uncouth groan. She then sagged in her seat, her entire body sagging as she looked at Naruto, unimpressed. Your teacher is a pervert, the girl stated flatly. Super pervert, Naruto casually corrected, eliciting another groan from the girl. This is why I killed you monkeys, the girl began, pinching the bridge of her nose. All these years, I was doing God's work by cleaning the land of filthy monkeys like you. Hey, I'm not that bad, Naruto chuckled. The fact that you're okay with your teacher being this lecherous, this disgusting, revolting, breast-mongering, howler monkey, sighed the girl, placing a palm on her face. Why? What did I do to deserve to live in the same world as these monkeys? Hey, retorted Naruto, crossing his arms. I get how us monkeys can be really perverted and sometimes gross. But you can't honestly be as pure as you say you are. I mean, you must be some really hardcore exhibitionist being okay with being naked all the time before I forced you to wear clothes. Not that's true, the girl blushed. I wouldn't blame you. I'm sure I'd be naked all the time if I didn't have to worry about people pointing it out. His words only made the girl's blush even hotter. It spread from her cheeks to her ears and up to her brow. Naruto thought she looked like a tomato for some strange reason. A sweet tomato. If you ever get naked in front of me, I will destroy you, threatened the girl in the most cold and intimidating voice she could muster. Only the blush on her face and the slight quiver in her lip betraying the seriousness of her tone. All right, you don't have to worry, Naruto said, curving his lips into a smile. I won't get naked unless you want me to. He slyly winked. WW what? Sputtered the girl, her hands quickly settling on her cheeks. I would end never. Only if you say so. The young lady took a deep breath. I believe so. Yes, if you say so, Naruto said, nodding. I do say so, the girl smirked. Yeah, whatever, Naruto replied, a small, amused smile on his face. There was a brief silence. I still think your teacher is stupid and perverted, the girl stated emphatically. Yeah, he kinda is, Naruto replied with a nod. But he means well. We'll have to see about that, the girl replied. Aside from him being perverted, why don't you like Jiraiya? Naruto inquired, tilting his head slightly to the side. I get this uneasy feeling around him, like he knows something. The girl crossed her arms. Well, okay, Naruto said with a blank expression on his face. Eesh, I'm sick of being stuck in here, groaned the girl, crossing her legs. It's so damn boring in here. What would you do if you got out? Naruto asked, quirking his brow. A lot of things. I'd eat everything, run around in the forest, and find a nice cave to sleep in. The girl replied with a nod. You're not going to kill anyone. Maybe. I don't know. At this point, I'd rather just leave you dumb monkeys alone. That way, I wouldn't have to risk being sealed up again. She shrugged. But then again, I haven't eaten bones in a long time and I'm craving them. Monkey bones do taste the best, she said thoughtfully, tilting her head up. The young lady licked her lips. Bleh, groaned Naruto, shaking his head. You know, you're hopeless, right? TCH, you wouldn't understand. Your inferior monkey palate would never understand the refined taste of bones. The girl replied, wiping drool from the side of her mouth. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. You can get hungry in here, Naruto asked, tilting his head to the side. Well, the girl shrugged. I'm not really hungry. I just get cravings. Cravings. So, what happens if you're unsealed? I think 10 years of not being able to eat would catch up with me. And I'd get so hungry that I'd eat an entire forest's worth of animals. The girl replied, like, can you starve to death? Naruto wondered. I don't know. She shrugged. I've never had to deal with starving to death. You know what? I've decided I'm going to keep you in here forever. Naruto sighed. He noticed the girl's eyes widened significantly. Even her tails appeared stunned, freezing instantly upon hearing his words. What? Why? What would you do if I tore that seal off? Asked Naruto, crossing his arms. Sure, you might not kill people for a couple of years, but since you're immortal, I'm pretty sure you'll forget about me and go back to killing people. Like, what's 60 or more years compared to eternity? Plus, if I don't let you go, you'll just die with me. And you won't be able to hurt anyone else. Please don't keep me in here. The girl sighed. Give me 3 reasons why I should let you go, Naruto said, crossing his arms. The girl began weakly, raising a finger. Well, She looked at him before shrinking metaphorically in response to his stern gaze. Well, like you said before, I'm cute. The girl nodded, and Naruto's shoulders sagged. Well, I've been nice to you, so that's got to count for something. That isn't quite enough. She swallowed softly. Even she couldn't think of any reason why the boy should let her go, despite her usual apathy. Even she could put herself in Naruto's shoes and see that it would be insane to let her go. She despised it when her mind went against her. She had no other choice. This was her trick, her secret weapon, her hidden weapon, her salesperson. You get the picture. I'll tell you what my name is. Really, said Naruto, his eyes widening. Yes, the girl nodded, her lips curving downward into a frown. But, I won't tell you unless you agree to let me go. Oh, okay, what the heck? Was it really that simple? She only had to tell him her name. Maybe all that time in her dark, depressing cage was eating away at her mind. All right, my name is. The girl began dramatically, prompting Naruto to lean forward. She was flushed. Never before had anyone been so eager to learn anything about her. Why, you may, the girl said before clearing her throat. You may refer to me as Kiyomiko, the great destroyer of monkeys, queen of the tailed beasts, nine-tailed fox, bone crusher, screamer, and ultimate being of this world. Naruto looked at her blankly. One of his eyes twitched, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing from her. It was both irritating and disrespectful. At least, that's what she thought. What? How am I supposed to remember all that? Naruto wondered. Well, I gave you my name. You would do well to have some respect and fully acknowledge it, said the girl, crossing her arms and letting out a quick HMPH. I think I'll just call you Kyuumi. No, you must address me by my full title. The girl's eyes twitched visibly. I don't think titles matter in here. Naruto shrugged. TCH, grumbled the girl. It doesn't matter. You're going to let me go now, right? Nope. I suppose I'll have to say my goodbyes now. Wait, what? Nope. Naruto said again, the corner of his mouth curving upward into a smirk. Wait a minute. I thought we made a deal. What's the big deal? I made no promises to you. She puffed out her cheeks and bit her bottom lip. If only she could get away from this cursed seal. Then she'd be able to squash Naruto like the insignificant monkey bug he was. Oh, how she wished she could murder him, to elicit a scream from him. She planned to pulverize his body and grind his bones into dust. Look, Naruto said, knocking her out of her thoughts. How about if you can prove something to me? I'll let you go. What do I need to prove to you? The girl asked, her eyes narrowing and her lips pressing together in a thin line. That's for me to figure out, and you'll have to work hard to find out, Naruto replied, leaning back in his seat. The girl hummed lowly, the vibrating in her throat turning the hum into a low growl near the end. Do you promise? Yeah, I promise. Naruto nodded. I'll even pinky promise you. Will you promise, Pinky? It's something we do as humans to sort of like seal the deal. You know. I don't know. She shook her head, but whatever. Give me your pinky. No, not like that. Pinky promise. How do you monkeys pinky promise then? Such as this. How about this? No, like this, not like that. You're doing exactly what I'm doing. No, Kyuumi, you curve your pinky like this. Hello, my name is Kiyomiko the Great Destroyer. Ugh, you distracted me. We were almost there. We did. Let me try again. Kyuumi, curve your pinky like this. GRR. Look, let me. Just give me your hand. What? Wow, your hand is incredibly soft. NNGH. Wait a minute. Are you blushing? No, I'm not blushing. You're flushed. GRR. What do you mean? I'm just telling you the truth. SHADUP monkey. She exclaimed. Oh my god. Not the face. He completely disagreed with Tsunade. Absolutely not. Not at all. What she said in the restaurant had really irritated him. How could she say such things after the Hokage, his grandfather, and her old instructor died defending Konoha? She had just been offered the most prestigious, powerful, and noble position in Konoha, and she had to decline it in the most disrespectful way possible. Ugh, how could she possibly say such things? He remembered how enraged he became when he heard her say those things. It was one of those rare occasions when he let his rage get the best of him. Even he would admit that what he did next was stupid. Taking on one of the world's 3 most powerful ninjas and expecting to win. Regret was not a strong enough word to describe his feelings after that. He had a feeling it wasn't all in vain. She had given him the benefit of the doubt. She would become Hokage if she completed the Rasengan. If he lost, he'd lose everything Jiraiya had given him from that white-suited moron. It was a large sum of money, much more than he had set aside. Perhaps, no, he'd perfect the Rasengan, and if he couldn't, he'd drag her ass all the way into the Hokage Tower. even if it meant killing himself. Most likely, it would, but he could persuade Kyumi to lend him some power to do it. Having tails must have come in handy. Having tails is useful, Kyumi said casually as she checked her nails. But no, I won't give you my authority to do something so stupid. But there's no way I'm going to finish the Rasengan in 3 days. I was blowing steam from my $$. Naruto replied as he leaned forward in his seat. HMPH. Maybe this will teach you that you don't always get what you want. Even if you really want it. Kyumi rolled her eyes. But, Naruto began, pouting before tightening his jaw. I don't need your help. There was a brief silence. You're not going to help me, so I'll help myself. Please wake me up, Naruto responded by crossing his arms. What? She thought as her eye twitched. You heard me. Naruto responded with a sigh. It'll just be like back to normal. I couldn't have gotten this far without your assistance. Normal. But, look, I appreciate all of your help so far. But I'll never be able to stick to my morals if I keep relying on you to get stronger. Naruto replied, his lips curving downward into a frown. Fine then, she snarled, exposing her fangs. Go forth and do your damn thing. Just don't come crawling back to me if you mess up. All right, Naruto said solemnly as he stood up and walked over to her. Damn stupid brat, Kyumi grumbled as she waved her hand, causing Naruto to fade away. Now that the annoying monkey was gone, her cage was quiet once more. She sat there quietly for a few moments before sniffling quietly. She gritted her teeth and slowly raised her legs, pressing her knees against her chest before wrapping her arms around them. She furrowed her brow and snarled as she looked over at the empty throne in front of her. Damn stupid brat, she grumbled. You stupid brat. She sniffled once more. Stupid, 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 stupid. Her tails gently wrapped themselves around her. I'm a moron. Why was she feeling this way? What was the source of her emptiness? She despised this sensation. It wasn't the emptiness she had felt when she was first imprisoned inside the seal. No, she was never truly empty back then. It was impossible to feel empty if you didn't have anything to begin with. That wretched monkey, that idiotic, repulsive monkey, that knuckle-headed blonde. She wouldn't even say his name. It was a repulsive name, fit only for a repulsive species, but she was determined to say it. Despite her disinclination, she enjoyed saying his name. He was just for every flaw he had, for every stupid thing he had ever said or done. He was only perfect. No, not at all. He was simply Naruto. He needed a new category, so she created one. He was unlike any other monkey she had ever met. He didn't fear her to the point of making her feel unwelcome. He didn't despise her or try to take advantage of her position. He was the only monkey who had ever asked her for permission to do anything. What was that word he used to describe his kind? Humans. That's all there was to it. He was a person. In her opinion, he was the first of his kind. All the others were filthy monkeys. Perhaps she had a smidgen on and 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 it could have been misplaced. As she had little experience with humans, they always looked like ants to her because she was so big outside of the seal. Her previous opinions had all become jumbled now that she was looking at one up close. There was also that fuzzy feeling in her chest that was triggered whenever Naruto said something nice to her about her. It was almost warm, dare she say it. To clear her mind, she shook her head. She despised being alone. If anything was going to kill her, it would be her brain overflowing and exploding with thoughts. She felt the need to rant. She desired to rant and have Naruto hear her rant. She needed to get all of these ridiculous ideas out of her head. But she couldn't. Her pride would not let her go. She despised the idea of Naruto, but she also adored it. Even if she had until the end of time to think about it all, she doubted she'd ever come up with an answer. She wished she could be like Shukaku at times like this. Stupid. Then she wouldn't have these thoughts bothering her all the time. As she leaned back in her throne, she sighed quietly to herself. Naruto appealed to her. Even she wasn't delusional enough to ignore her own opinions. But she would never admit it to him. Would she, or wouldn't she? She was flushed. No way, no way, not in a million years. The nine-tailed fox has descended to the level of a monkey. Maybe. How did it come to be this way? Tsunade had to go first and betray them. Couldn't she have made a poison that destroyed his insane libido if she was going to drug the perverted old man? He wouldn't have minded because he was tired of trying to sleep whenever Jiraiya had guests over. Then they had to contend with Orochimaru and his nerd sidekick Kabuto. Sure, the fight appeared somewhat even because Tsunade was insanely powerful and Jiraiya was insanely powerful even when weakened. They also had Shizune. Naruto, on the other hand, had no idea Tsunade was afraid of blood. How can a ninja possibly be afraid of blood? Not to mention a medical ninja. He should have known he was screwed from the start. Life was almost always against him. Oh, how he wished he could be back in Konoha. Back in Konoha, he was comforted by a large bowl of ramen, extra ham, noodles in excess, add everything. Unfortunately, instead of eating delicious ramen, he had to fight one of the world's most powerful ninja. He not only had to get his ass beat, but he had to get his ass beat without the assistance of Kyuyumi's power. Orochimaru. That Snake Pedo had to give him a hickey as well. That was a painful one. He went black the next thing he knew. It felt like I was falling off a cliff all over again, except that this time, someone was going to try to kill him while he was unconscious. He didn't want to die because of that long-tongued freak. What the hell is going on? Exclaimed Naruto as he appeared in his mindscape. That man you're fighting, the one with the black hair and pale skin. He put a seal on you, Kyuyumi replied, causing Naruto's eyes to widen. Wait, you mean like Sasuke's seal? Yes, but don't worry, she said, nodding. Why should I be concerned? You should be concerned. What and why? Because the seal he just gave you is incompatible with the seal on your stomach. They're fighting for dominance over your body. But the seal on your stomach is stronger, Kyuyumi nodded. Then why should I be concerned? Naruto asked, his hand slightly trembling in front of him. Because the seal on your stomach will be damaged, weakening it just enough for me to slip through and finally escape this cursed prison. Kyuyumi replied, the corner of her lip curving upward into a fang-revealing smirk. What? Naruto exclaimed, his eyes widening as he took a step back. Yes, Naruto, you heard that right. I'll be out of here any second now, she smirked. Free to do what I want. Free to roam this world once more. If only you had begged me for my power, this would not have happened, she exclaimed, her chest buffing out as she threw her head back. Good thing you didn't, because now I can break free from this crappy cage. You're not going to go unpunished forever. Kyuyumi, someone is going to stop you, whether you want them to or not. Naruto said quietly. Fufufu. Kyuyumi chuckled, licking her lips. I can already taste freedom. Say whatever you want. I'll defy your expectations. Naruto made fists with his hands. If I were you, I'd try to get comfortable because getting out of here is going to be very painful. The boy's eyes widened as she spoke. Eep. The pain hit him just as he said that. White hot, as if someone had lit a fire in his stomach, radiating out in sharp waves. The pain he felt when Tsunade hit him felt like a mosquito bite in comparison to the pain he was currently experiencing. His mindscape's walls began to tremble around him before collapsing. Soon after, he found himself briefly floating in darkness before returning to consciousness. A female voice exclaimed, Naruto. He didn't know if it was from Tsunade or Shizyun. All he could think about was the agonizing pain in his stomach. Was this how it felt to give birth? Naruto nearly screamed as he saw a massive, furry paw extend out of his stomach, forcing one of his eyes open. The paw was followed by the rest of her arm and parts of her head. That's when he started screaming because he had the worst stomachache ever. It was similar to the time he drank spoiled milk, but 10 times worse in terms of pain. He blacked out briefly, but when he awoke, Kyuyumi had already freed herself from his seal. No, not really. She was yanking one of her hind legs free from his seal. But you get the picture. She was finally out a few seconds later. The nine-tailed fox stretched for a few seconds before throwing her head back and laughing loudly. Uha. It's the nine-tailed fox, exclaimed a raspy voice, most likely that of Orochimaru. Kyuyumi turned her head to look at him when she heard his voice. Orochimaru swallowed quietly in response, the weight of his useless, limp noodle arms only adding to his fear in the presence of the world's most terrifying being. He was unable to move for some strange reason. Was it the overwhelming power he felt from the tailed beast, or was he literally scared to death? He didn't have time to respond because his fear only grew as the nine-tailed fox's large paw cast a shadow over him. Squish. Naruto arched his brow. What was that squishing sound you heard just now? Why, you smashed Lord Orochimaru. Oh, Kyuyumi had to crush Orochimaru to death. Good. It was due to the creepy bastard. Hummed Kyuyumi, the sound coming from the back of her throat and sounding more like a low growl than anything else. Did you just say something to me? Monkey. It was now Kabuto's turn to feel the nine-tailed fox's glare's overwhelming presence. Kabuto slowly backed away, shrinking metaphorically. Did you say anything to me, monkey? Kyuyumi asked again, her fangs barring at the white-haired boy. And then move your foot off of Lord Orochimaru, stammered Kabuto, his legs visibly shaking as he struggled to get the words out. You dare order me around? Kyuyumi asked, tilting her head to the side and raising her foot, revealing a flat Orochimaru stuck to the bottom of it. Kabuto remained silent. TCH. Be grateful that I will grant you and your pitiful master mercy. Come, come, peel him off my foot and begone, roared Kyuyumi as she flicked Orochimaru's paper-thin body off her paw towards Kabuto, who caught it with shaking arms. As he propped himself up on his elbow, Naruto let out a quiet groan. Squinting, he noticed how Orochimaru resembled a white sheet of dried seaweed and the fear in Kabuto's eyes. He then saw Kabuto carry his flattened master away as he ran into the forest. Hopefully, they won't bother him again. He had not anticipated this. Naruto's eyes widened as he returned his gaze to Kyuyumi. This was the first time he'd seen her in her true form, and she was kind of cute. Not cute in the way that guys liked cute girls, but cute in the way that it made girls squeal. She resembled a giant version of a chubby baby fox. Was this the same nine-tailed fox that had attacked Konoha years before? All of the depictions made her look terrifying. When he attempted to stand, he hissed sharply as a sharp pain shot through his body. Every muscle below his sternum had suddenly decided to cramp. Ouch! Naruto turned his head to look at his friends when he noticed Jiraiya slowly approaching him. Hopefully, he'll try to save him instead of throwing him off a cliff. Hopefully, Jiraiya, SHH. Naruto, I'm going to try to get you out of here. Jiraiya was abruptly cut off when Kyuyumi slammed her arm between them, blocking the old man's path. You're not leaving, Kyuyumi said, looking down at the two little monkeys. You still owe me. Why the hell would I owe you anything? Exclaimed Naruto, wincing slightly in pain. I think you've crippled me. My legs. I can't move my legs. TCH, you really are a weak monkey, though you do pique my interest with your crippled legs. Perhaps if I hurt you further, I may evolve you into an entertaining howler monkey, Kyuyumi said as she bowed her head to get a better look at him. Please don't do that, Naruto said loudly. He then looked over at Jiraiya, who would have been there if Kyuyumi's arm hadn't been in the way. Tell her, Jiraiya, don't hurt me any further because I've had enough for today. There was a brief silence. Yeah, blinked Naruto. Hey, monkeys, stop talking to each other. You would do well to respect me. I can kill all of you with a single sneeze. Kyuyumi snarled, prompting Naruto to return her gaze. Ugh, look, Naruto mumbled, just loud enough for her to hear him. What do I owe you? Ramen, Kyuyumi stated flatly, causing Naruto to raise an eyebrow. Ramen, yes, you promised me the greatest food in the world to sate my hunger. I am hungry. She nodded, the sheer size of her head fanning a huge wave of wind into his face. As a side note, if I don't like ramen, I'm going to kill you and everyone in your village. What happens if I don't get you ramen? Sighed Naruto. I'm going to kill you and everyone else in your village. Fufufu. This was ideal. It was brilliant to use ramen as an excuse to follow him back to his village. It was the ideal balance between her pride and her desires. Needs? No, at least not yet. Her pride was begging her to slap herself. She'd do it later. Well, I'm stuck. I think I tore every muscle in my lower half, Naruto said, looking down at his legs. TCH, you monkeys were always so delicate, like delicate little dolls that occasionally screamed or made little beautiful red pools, Kyuyumi remarked as her tails swirled around him, enclosing them both inside a dome of fur. What are you doing? Naruto asked, looking around at the large fluffy tails as Kyuyumi reverted to her little adorable human form. What do you think I'm doing? Idiot. Kyuyumi rolled her eyes. You're injured, and while your body already contains a very strong life force, you're going to be stuck with all those torn muscles for a while. And I am very impatient. So, what are your plans? I'm going to fix them. Duh, Kyuyumi replied as she raised her hand to flip her hair. And don't worry, you don't have to feel embarrassed because my tails are here to cover you. Wait, why should I be embarrassed? Naruto asked, tilting his head to the side. For a brief moment, Kyuyumi remained silent. Well, Kyuyumi stammered, her cheeks blushing slightly as she looked away. I need to heal your body with my chakra. I need to take off your pants and jacket, and I need to touch you. That seems strange, Naruto said, narrowing his eyes. Tsunade doesn't need to touch me when she uses her healing techniques. Yeah, well, tailed beasts work differently. Okay, now shut up and be grateful that I'm taking the time to heal you. The real reason was that he wanted to touch him, but only a little, just a tiny, itty-bitty bit. Alright, eesh. Alright, here we go. I'll start with your pants. Might as well get the most disgusting part out of the way first. Okay, Naruto glared. There was a brief silence. I noticed you still have that scarf and kimono on. What do you think? I think it suits you well. Let's not make small talk. She blushed. Another moment of silence followed. How am I going to get this damn thing off? You have to pull the zipper down and then pull them off. Does this have a zipper? Yes. Oh, that's too rough. Sorry. Wait a minute. That's the first time you've ever apologized to me. Apology for what? I made no apologies. You're being delusory. You're a lunatic monkey. A wild capuchin. I'm sure you just apologized. Oh, stop. Too harsh. You get what you deserve. I was only pointing out your apologies. Shut up. Just keep it quiet. Okay. Alright, here I go. Alright then. Naruto said quietly before Kyumi placed her hands on his thighs and began channeling some of her chakra into his muscles. Whoa, that actually feels really good. Phew, what was that adorable sound you just made? And nothing. He was just so damn warm. What she would have given for a snuggie like him to snuggle up with when she slept. It would have been amazing, especially since she occasionally slept in caves. So, how long will this take? Only a few seconds for this leg. Your hands are really soft, you know. GRRR. Remember how I told you to be quiet? Yeah, well, I also noticed that you had paw pads in your fox form. I wonder if they're soft as well. I am not a wimp. What's the harm in being soft, Kyumi? She opened her mouth to speak but quickly shut it when she couldn't think of anything to say. Furrowing her brow and returning to channeling her chakra into Naruto's legs. Well, being soft only allows others to take advantage of you, Kyumi replied solemnly, her voice barely audible before she took her hands off his legs and said, "Take off your jacket. I'm finished with your legs." Naruto raised an eyebrow at her unusually quiet response, but he complied, taking off his jacket and placing it on the side before rolling up his shirt to his chest. Is there something wrong, Kyumi? No, she said, shaking her head. Are you certain? Yes, Kyumi. What is the point of all of this? I mean, I'm pretty sure you could just hide your ears and tail and go find yourself a ramen stand. Naruto asked, tilting his head slightly to the side as he looked at her. Ramen is relatively inexpensive. Well, whatever. Well, you should just be thankful that I've decided to eat the same ramen you do. Naruto looked at her for a split second before laughing and wheezing as he tensed his torn muscles. Hey, why are you amused? Because even though you always said you'd leave me the first chance you got, you're still going to follow me around. T-Not, that's correct, protested Kyumi, her cheeks glowing a brilliant red. Alright, okay, I'll believe you, Naruto replied, giving Kyumi a small smile. Well, okay, let's wrap this up quickly. Your perverted teacher's baby techniques are starting to irritate me. What do they think I'm doing here? What are you eating? You're far too petite. You'd barely fill me up. Gee, it makes me feel so much better knowing I'm basically an appetizer to you, Naruto retorted sarcastically, rolling his eyes. Well, but you are. Well, I guess I didn't need to know that. Sure, whatever. I'm done with you here anyway, Kyumi replied, rolling down his shirt and sighing quietly. Ugh. I'm not looking forward to talking to monkeys. Once you get used to them, Kyumi, they're not so bad. Yeah, as if I want to get used to being around monkeys, she scoffed. I think I've degraded myself enough over the last 10 years. Alright then, Naruto said with a shrug. Look, I'm accompanying you to mingle with the locals. I just want ramen, Kyumi stated with a nod. Her pride was literally screaming at her right now as she thought about ramen and Naruto. Oh, okay then, Naruto replied, his voice trailing off as he finished his sentence. Yeah, Kyumi said as she stood up, her tail suddenly shrinking in proportion to her body, revealing them both to Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Shizune. Naruto, I'm coming to save you. Whoa. Hello there, Jiraiya began valiantly, only to have his voice trail off when he saw Kyumi. Can it, monkey? Kyumi exclaimed. I'm disgusted by your stare. I would advise you to look away right now. Ish, you don't have to be so rude, Naruto said, prompting Kyumi to smack him on the head. Oh, do not think you can boss me around just because I was trapped inside of you for 10 years. Alright, I got it, Naruto said, looking over at Jiraiya. He then turned to see Tsunade and Shizune approaching. What does this mean, Naruto? Is it a nine-tailed fox? Tsunade inquired, her gaze shifting between Naruto and Kyumi. Naruto said to Kyumi. Should I introduce you or should you do so? Just don't tell any of these monkeys my name, Kyumi shrugged. They don't deserve to have it play in their ears. Oh, okay, Naruto said, returning his gaze to Tsunade. How do you keep your cool in this situation? Murmured Jiraiya as he sat down, trying to process everything that had just happened. Everything just sorta feels like a dream. Naruto shrugged. I'd only ever talked to the nine-tailed fox before falling asleep. Well, you're not dreaming anymore, monkey, Kyumi said as he walked up to him and gave him a light punch on the shoulder. Yeah, Naruto said before turning to face Tsunade. And this is the nine-tailed fox. You weren't expecting that, were you? Not what I was expecting at all, Tsunade said, shaking her head and widening her eyes as she took in Kyumi's form. What about the other tailed beasts if the nine-tailed fox can change forms like this? Oh, they can do that too, Kyumi replied simply, brushing her hair to the side with her hand. Alright then, grunted Tsunade before taking a deep breath. So, what were you doing earlier with Naruto? I'm healing him. How? Tsunade inquired. Her brow furrowed slightly as she asked her question. I'm using my chakra. I have complete chakra control. Tsunade's eyes widened as she replied, perfect chakra control. There is no such thing as perfect chakra management. Well, Kyumi shrugged. You are mistaken. A misguided monkey. A blunder. Tsunade gave her a strange look when she said mistakey. I am a being made of nothing but chakra, Kyumi said, clearing her throat. I can manipulate everything to do whatever I want. I can even make objects appear. Show me. Jiraiya demanded, his interest piqued by Kyumi's words. Look at these clothes I'm wearing, Kyumi said, narrowing her eyes at Jiraiya for approaching her and pointing to her kimono. These are made from my chakra. She then turned to Naruto and said, I'll just make a copy of that jacket. A small little swirl of red chakra pooled in her hand before suddenly poofing up into an identical jacket, which she then tossed over to Jiraiya, who caught it. This, wow, Jiraiya exclaimed, taking a step back. How in the world could you possibly create something like this? Secret, but secret. I never reveal secrets to monkeys. They'll end up killing themselves because of it. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes before tossing the jacket back at Kyumi, who snapped her fingers again, causing the jacket to disintegrate into a cloud of red chakra that quickly flowed back towards her. Huh? Naruto exclaimed. I always thought you could do that in the seal. Well, then, you were wrong, Kyumi said as she turned to face him. That's actually kinda cool, Naruto said with a small smile, like really cool. Kyumi blushed as she dismissed the boy with a dismissive hand wave. So then, Naruto said as he turned to face Tsunade, his smile widening. Earlier in the fight, I showed you the Rasengan, so I guess I won the deal. He noticed one of Tsunade's eyes twitch as she took a step back and rested her hands on her hips. Well, I guess you did, Tsunade said as she walked over to Naruto, ignoring Kyumi's glare. I'll be the next Hokage. And, Tsunade continued as she dipped her head and removed her necklace before placing it around Naruto's neck. Here is the necklace you worked so hard for. May it help you on your way to becoming the next Hokage. Gee Granny Tsunade, Naruto exclaimed, tears welling up in his eyes. Who the hell are you calling Granny, brat? Tsunade's eye twitched. Ooh, not you, Naruto replied, scooting away from her and back towards Kyumi. Kyumi placed a foot on his shoulder and held him in place before he could fully back up. All right, then, you three monkeys, Kyumi said, pointing to Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Shizune, are now my slaves. You three will take me and this little runt back to your village so I can eat ramen. Are you sure you are serious? Shizune asked, her face filled with skepticism. Kyumi slowly turned her head to face Shizune and glared, eliciting an immediate eep from the girl. I am always solemn. You monkeys had better be aware of that, Kyumi replied through gritted teeth, exposing her fangs to everyone. Watch out, Naruto. Looks like you got a feisty one, Jiraiya whispered into Naruto's ear, prompting the boy to nod. Alright then, Jiraiya said, clearing his throat. I'll just call you the nine-tailed fox because you won't tell us your name. Let's get you over to Konoha, feed you some ramen, and then you can go. Just make sure you don't get sealed up by another village. Yes, I will keep that in mind, Kyumi said, fighting the urge to sneeze on him. How do we know you're just coming to eat in our village? How do we know you're not just going to start destroying it? I'm not going down in history as the Hokage who only lasted one day, Tsunade said, crossing her arms and squeezing her huge bosom slightly upward. Kyumi narrowed her eyes and cast a quick glance down at Tsunade's chest. Damn cow, those things could feed an entire family for a month. Unlike you monkeys, I don't lie, Kyumi stated flatly. And at this point, I couldn't care less about the well-being of your village. Can we now get going? I'm starving. I think we should just go, Naruto suggested, prompting Kyumi to look down at him. It's just ramen. In addition, I don't think we should try to argue with the nine-tailed fox. Your runt monkey is correct. It would be foolish to argue with me, Kyumi said with a nod, her weight on Naruto's shoulder easing as her lips curved upward into a small smirk. The three adults simply agreed with her, seeing no reason to say anything else. This was going a lot easier than she expected, which was great and a clear example of how she came up with the best plans. Before long, they were all standing up and preparing to return to Konoha, walking in an incomplete backwards triangle, with Jiraiya, Shizune, and Tsunade in front and Naruto and Kyumi in the back. Everything was going according to plan, Fufufu. She had even given the plan a name, the plan to retaliate against Naruto for making her feel these affectionate feelings. It was fantastic. It was. You really need to stop saying all of your thoughts out loud. Naruto chuckled as he looked over at her. Unless you said them on purpose for me to hear. WW what? WW what? Squeaked Kyumi, her cheeks turning a bright red. I believe I heard something about myself, feelings, and a plan. What was that about? Naruto inquired, tilting his head to the side. And nothing. He leaned in close and spoke in hushed tones. Oh, Kyumi, come on. You are free to tell me. And no. Oh, why did you flick me? Because you're a moron.
I will continue this story in another video, so please tell me in the comments if you liked it or not. Till then, we weep offline.